Hello,
Hi, ma'am.
how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm good, thank you. Can you help me start solving this question? What do I have to start by doing?
So I said 4 times minus 8 and gave me minus 32. Then I said 4 times 3x, and it gave me 12x.
Good, okay, so we're gonna have negative 32 plus 12x, and that's gonna be equal to,
Then I said 5 times x, then it gave me 5x. Then I said
good,
5 times minus 3, then it gave me minus 15 minus 3.
good, perfect, I love it. Great first step, excellent work. Okay, what am I gonna do from here?
Then I said 12x minus 5x is equal to minus 15 minus 3 plus 32.
Lovely. Okay, next step.
When I said 7x is equal to 14, then I divided both sides by 7.
Okay, so 7x is equal to 14, and then we're going to divide both sides by 7, and so you get your answer, x is equal to?
2.
Excellent, nice job. That's 100% perfect. Well done. Yay! Okay, guys, I'm going to try and talk you through what just happened over there. So first situation is this is a linear equation. When it's a linear equation, it means we've just got x. So we don't have an x squared. Okay, so we only have x's. So now the first thing that happened in this is that we did this distribution. So this is distribution over here, and this is distribution over here. So where we multiply the number that's on the outside, we multiply it by what's inside the brackets. Okay, so that's what gave us those two terms, and that's what gave us those two terms. Now, the cool thing in a test is you would actually get 1 mark for each of those, which is awesome. Okay, then because it's linear, what we want to do when it's a linear equation is we want all of our x's to be on one side, and we want all of our numbers to be on the other side. So this 5x over here, we needed to move it onto the left, and when it moves, then the sign changes. And that negative 32, we wanted to move to the right, and so it became positive 32. So we have our x's on one side, and we have our numbers on the other side. Then 12 minus 5 just gave us our 7x, and negative 15 minus 3 plus 32 gave us the 14. We always divide by the coefficient of x on both sides, and that is what gave us our final answer. Okay, so here you would get another step for getting the 7x is equal to 14, and then one last mark for x is equal to 2. How did this question go? Did we enjoy it? Did we find it easy? Did we find it hard? Did you make a silly mistake? Let me know how this question went. 2 thumbs up so far. Great. Awesome. Okay. So when we have a linear equation, we need to just keep on remembering we want x's on one side and we want numbers on the other side. Okay. If you want to take a screenshot, please feel free, because I'm going to move down to quadratics. And if you have any questions about what you're currently seeing, please feel free to ask. You can either put it in the chat or you can pop your hand up and we can talk. Okay. Cool. So next one we're going to deal with is a quadratic. We're going to do a couple quadratic equations. The first one that we are going to look at is this one over here. So we've got x squared minus 2x minus 3. Now this is a quadratic, so it is different to a linear. What makes this equation quadratic? What makes this equation quadratic? Who can tell me that? The square, absolutely, good. Okay, so as soon as we see we have an x squared, then it is quadratic. And when it's a quadratic, we're going to follow a few steps. The first step we want to follow is we want to move everything, and we want it to be equal to 0. So we want everything here equal to 0. We've already got that, so that's great. Okay, second step, We're going to simplify if we need to, but if we don't, we are going to factorize. Okay, and once we have factorized, we are always going to get 2 answers for x. All right. Give this one a try and tell me what my answers for x are going to be. Yes. We've got a lovely volunteer. Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi. Can you help me with this question?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That's fine.
But for this equation, I got open bracket x plus 1, close bracket. And then open bracket x minus 3, close bracket.
I love it so far. Beautiful. 100%.
Equals to 0. And then x plus 1 is probably equal to 0.
Good. Okay.
And or x
Or
minus 3. X minus 3 is equals to 0.
good. Okay, so what are my 2 answers for x?
X is equals to 1 or x is equals to 3.
X is equal to -1 or x is equal to 3. 100%. Nice job. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Woo. Guys, you are doing amazing. So good. Okay, so this one, first step was already done for us. It was all on one side and equal to 0. Then we factorized, and in this case, it was a trinomial. And then we got our 2 different answers for x. So remember, when we have a quadratic, we say this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. Okay. Nice job. Guys, just remember, if you have questions while we're going along, please feel free to pop them in the chat. If I don't see them, Nelly will see them and we'll be able to answer. Anela, that's okay. Lots of people struggle with factorization because there's a lot of different rules to learn for it. The best thing I can advise is that you watch some of the factorization videos. It might even help to watch some of the grade 9 factorizing videos, because that's when you like learn about all of these starting points. So it might make it a little bit easier to learn before you start jumping into the grade 10 ones. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump onto our next question. Okay, so if you miss out this step here, then it's okay. So if you just wrote that bottom step that I have there, that's okay. Cool, no problem. Oh, I see a hand. Yes, hello.
Hi, ma'am. I'm sorry, wouldn't you get it wrong if you left it like that in a test or exam?
If you just left it with therefore x equals -1 and therefore x equals 3?
No, if you just left it at x plus 1 is equal to 0, x minus 3 is equal to
We
0.
definitely won't leave it there. This step is, if you want to, you could leave this out.
Okay.
We wouldn't want to leave it there. We don't want to stop there. Definitely stop at the end. But if you were going to miss a step, that's the step you would miss.
Sure.
Let me just
Thank you.
make that super clear in case people confuse that. What happened to the 2x? So the 2x, it became -2x by doing our factorization. So if we remultiplied this, we would get -3x plus 1x, and -3x plus 1x gives us our -2x. So this is just doing trinomial factorization. Okay.
Teacher,
Right. Yeah.
do you encourage students to check their answers after they factorize?
100%. If you 100% checking your answers is a great idea. It's a great way of making sure you're right. So if you're wanting to check your answers, all you have to do is you basically put what you got back into this equation. So like over here, you would say -1 squared, just be careful to use your brackets, minus 2 times -1 minus 3, and you push equals, and you should get 0. And if you don't get 0, you know you've made a mistake. You can do the same here. So we can say 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3. And if we don't get 0, we know we've made a mistake. So checking your answers is definitely a great way to make sure we're right. Cool. Okay, so this one, again, we've got an x squared, which is telling us that it is a quadratic. Okay, I want you to think very carefully what to do when it's a quadratic. Try and don't fall for the trap that I have set for you in this question, because it looks like it's a really nice, easy question, but there's a very, very, very big trap. So let's try and not fall for that trap. And tell me what answers you get. Well, there's actually 2 traps in this question. But let's not try fall for either of them. Think about the first thing we need to do, then think about the second thing we need to do, and then think about what my answers are going to be. Okay. So Kamachelo, is that saying x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 0 divided by 3? For your one answer. Yes, my love. Have you got an answer for me?
Ma'am, I think so. I'm also
Okay.
not sure.
That's fine.
But,
Tell me what I must do.
What I did is that I took the 6 over to the other side and made it a positive.
Beautiful. So 3x
And
squared
then,
plus 6x equals 0.
yes, ma'am, yeah. And then I factorized it. I took
Good.
out the common factor of 2x.
2x.
No, never mind. I see my mistake. Sorry. The thingy is gonna be 2. I'm gonna take out 2. No, 3. It's 3. Yes, it's 3. Sorry, it's 3x if I'm not mistaken.
Good.
Yes, and then after that, open bracket x plus 2 close bracket equals 0.
Good.
Then after that, I said 3x. Yes, sorry. After that, I said 3x is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then I
Good.
got the answer of x is equal to 0, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I said x is equal to minus 2.
Perfect. 100%. Nice work.
Sure.
Okay, so let's try and go through those steps here. I see a lot of people got the right answers, which is great. One of the most sort of common mistakes is that if we have something written outside the bracket like this, where we have a 3x, and people forget that they need to make it an answer as well. Okay, but definitely make it an answer. So we have 3x squared plus 6x equals 0. That was first moving it all onto one side. Then this step over here is we factorized. And we factorized by taking out a highest common factor. Okay, our highest common factor was 3x. So we take out our highest common factor. That's the highest common factor. And we are left with x plus 2. All we have to do from this point is we say, I'm just going to get a different color so I'm not dealing with this blue over here. Okay, so we just factorizing. What we do from there is we say this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0 because the rule of 0. So it's exactly the same idea as this, where we had x plus 1 equals 0 or x minus 3 equals 0, except instead of being in brackets, and you could put it in brackets, same, it's just saying this or that. Okay, so now we just have 3x is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. And then when we divide this side by 3 and we divide that side by 3, 0 divided by anything is just 0. So that's going to be 0. And then our other side is going to be -2. Okay, so those of you who got to this step, that's great. That's a great first step. That's awesome. Okay, so you knew you needed to move your 6x to the other side, and that's great. What we needed to do from here is we needed to factorize. And so we had 2 terms, and we had to think, how do we factorize it? In order to factorize it, we needed to take out a highest common factor. So we needed to say, what can go into both of those terms? And the thing that could go into both of those terms was 3x. What if you divide by 0? So for the most part, it's undefined. So anything divided by 0 is undefined, except 0 divided by 0, which is something called indeterminate. So the 2 becomes negative because when it jumps over to the other side of the equal sign, it changes its sign. Any other questions of this one? Don't worry. I think we have one more quadratic, and then we're going to try the next little section. Okay. 2 more quadratics. Okay, so this is very similar, except we have to do 2 things in this one. So it's already moved onto one side because it's already equal to 0. So now we just have to factorize. So when we factorize, I want you to try and think of those steps that we spoke about in our lesson on Monday. Okay, so let's just write here factorization quickly. Okay, first we always see, is there a highest common factor? Second, if there are 2 terms, can we do dots? Can we do a trinomial? Can we group? Dots means difference of 2 squares. Yes, this is definitely all grade 10. Okay, I'm going to give you just a little bit of extra time, and then we can go through this answer. Just take it step by step. Think about each thing you have to do. Dots means difference of 2 squares. Difference of 2 squares. So what has happened is you have not done the next step. Your next factorization step. If you're getting 0 and 16, then you haven't done the next factorization step. Kamachelo, that's closer, but also not 100% right. Okay. I think I'm going to talk through this one just so that everyone understands what's going on. Don't worry, I will elaborate. I'll go through it now. Whenever we have factorization, the first thing we have to look for is there a highest common factor? And if there's a highest common factor, we have to take it out. Okay, so in this case, there is a highest common factor, and it is 2. So we're going to take out our highest common factor, and we are going to be left with x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. That's going to be our first step. Now from here, we have to look at this and we think, well, that's still a quadratic equation. I've done highest common factor. Can I do difference of two squares? Yeah, I can. So we're going to factorize further by doing dots. So we're going to have our 2, and this is going to become x plus 4, x minus 4, and that is equal to 0. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now from here, what a lot of people do and what a lot of people make a mistake with is this 2 over here. So they want to make it an answer. So they'll say 2 is equal to 0. And then they'll say, or x plus 4 is equal to 0, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. But let's just look at this quickly. Is it possible for 2 to be equal to 0? Can 2 equal 0? No, it's not possible. So yeah, it's very normal. But if you have that situation, just think that's not possible. So if that happens, we don't write it because it's not possible. Because what we could do is we could divide both the sides by 2 and the 0 would get rid of the 2. So it's, yeah. So what we land up with is just these 2 over here, x plus 4 equals 0, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. And then we can just move the 4. So we're going to have x is equal to negative 4, or x is equal to 4. And then like Nelly was telling us at the beginning, again, you can absolutely chuck this into the equation and check that you're right. So you can say 2 times negative 4 squared minus 32 and make sure you get 0, and do exactly the same thing with 4 and make sure you get 0. Yes, how can I help? Mahabo, I think you just need to unmute on your side. You should have a notification. There we go. Hi.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. How can I help?
I wanted to know what happened to the 2 on the difference of 2 squares.
So when we get to this point over here, what we can do is we could divide this whole side by 2, because then it gets rid of it. And what we do to one side, we do to the other side. And what does 0 divided by 2 give me?
Ma'am?
What is 0 divided by 2? What would that equal?
0.
Exactly. So what we land up with is we just land up with these 2 brackets. And that's why that 2 doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Good, guys. Nice work. Keep asking. Keep trying your best. We've got one more quadratic question, and then I think we move on to fractions after that. Take a screenshot if you would like, because I'm going to scroll down to our next question. It's okay. I've tried to keep everything not too nasty so that we can try and get through one of each thing today. Okay. All right, last quadratic question is we have to do something before we do the steps that we were told about. So now we need to get our brains back to what we were talking about on Monday. When we have a bracket that is being squared, I want you to think about what you need to do with that. Then I want you to think about how you're going to simplify that, and then think about what we do for a quadratic equation. So we need to do quite a few steps here, but there isn't too much going on. Just do one thing at a time. Start by thinking about what that bracket means if it's being squared. You guys are doing so well. Really, I'm very proud of you. Yeah, good, Naledi, absolutely. So we're going to write that as x minus 2, x minus 2. And then we're going to do our FOIL. Oh, were you confused because I told Eunice last year, so you were worried this was a grade 9 class? I'm stepping in for teacher Coco today. So I'm not your normal grade 10 teacher, just for today. All right, volunteer, let's go.
Yo, ma'am, not so much a volunteer.
That's a question.
Like, I got lost like after foiling. Like, I moved everything to the other side and turned it into standard form, but like I got lost after foiling.
Okay, so tell me what your foiling looked like.
So it was x squared minus 4x plus 4.
So I'm just going to write out the full thing in case anyone wrote that. Okay, and that's equal to negative 4x plus 8. Perfect. Okay, where did you go to from there?
I moved the 4. Oh my god, is the 4 negative? Oh, it's the 4 that was negative. Okay, never mind. Let me just quickly redo the question.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's see. One day, can you help me out in this last step now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So it goes from, sorry, let me look for the question. You factorize it and then you, oh, okay. Sorry, ma'am, where must I start, from the beginning or?
No, it's just from here. So from this point, we just need to move everything onto one side. So I'm just going to move those dudes over for you. And then if you could just simplify that for me and tell me what that would end up becoming. So adding all of your like terms.
It would be x squared minus 4 equals 0.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Where do we go to from there?
And then I factorize it again.
Good.
Split it up again.
And how did you factorize it?
So it's going to be bracket, open brackets, x minus 2, close brackets, times open brackets, x plus 2, close brackets, and then we go to x minus 2 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0.
Perfect.
And then we swap the sides. We do the opposite sign operation, and then it's x equals 2 or x equals minus 2.
100%. Nice work. Great work. Excellent. Okay, so there was a lot going on here. First thing is we had to write those brackets out twice. Okay, then all we did in this step over here, that's your FOIL step. Okay, so this step over here is FOIL. Oh, you got it right. Nice job. Okay, then all we did over here is we moved it all onto one side. And that does not look like a 1, that looks like a 2. Move to one side and make it equal to 0. Okay, then we factorized. And in order to factorize over here, we did dots. So we got x minus 2, x plus 2. And we land up with our two answers of x equals 2 and x equals negative 2. Who landed up getting this question right? I will be very excited because there were so many different layers in this question. Seeing hands up, thumbs up, great. Lots and lots of layers to this question. No, it's okay, Mateo. The thing is with these ones, if you make a mistake with one of your signs, like here, if you'd made a mistake with that sign, or when you move these ones, if you made a mistake with a sign, it's very easy to get a very different answer. And sometimes it doesn't factorize nicely. So don't be hard on yourself. You just take it sort of like you do the best you can. Okay. Take a screenshot if you would like, and we are going to move into our next little topic of equations. Our favorite friend. Okay. There's a couple of rules with fractions. The first rule is whenever we have a whole number, okay, so whenever we have a whole number, we want to put it over 1. Whenever you have a whole number, you want to put it over 1. The reason we do that is because if we forget to put it over 1, we make a mistake and we forget that it needs a denominator. Okay, so whenever there's a fraction that has just a whole number, we want to make it over 1. That's the first rule. Second rule is when we're dealing with these pluses and minuses with fractions, we need to find a lowest common denominator. Okay. And when we have a lowest common denominator with a fraction equation, only with a fraction equation, we're allowed to drop the denominator. Okay. So just think about this carefully. I'm going to put a couple of things in here to help you along the way. So I've put that 1 there to help you. And I'm going to put this in brackets. And I'm going to put this in brackets. Those are all there to help you. Okay, so if we're wanting to find the LCD here, we look at our denominators at the moment. We've got 3, 4, and 1. So the 1 doesn't matter. We look at 3 and 4. And the easiest way is you can just multiply them together. So 3 times 4 gives you 12. And so you can use a denominator of 12. Sometimes it's not the lowest, but it will always work. So for example, if you had like a 5 and a 10, the lowest common denominator would be 10. But if you used a denominator of 50, it would still work. Yeah, sure. I can definitely go back so you can take a screenshot. Okay. So in this case, our lowest common denominator is 12. .12 is the lowest. So that's how you get there. Okay, so I'm actually going to talk you through this one because then I've got another fraction question that you can do after this one to practice. So let's kind of talk through this one together. If my lowest common denominator is 12, it means that, oh, sorry, just pop that hand up so I can unmute you. Or you can, there you go. Hello?
Sorry, ma'am. I was gonna ask for this question, do we have any restrictions?
No, there aren't any restrictions because there's no x's in the denominator.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
No, it's not compulsory. It's not compulsory to find the lowest. If you have a denominator that is common, it's fine. It's not compulsory. It's just easier generally. Okay, so we need our denominator to be 12 here. So we would need to multiply that 3 by 4 to get to 12. We would need to multiply that 4 by 3 to get to 12. And we need to multiply that 1 by 12 to get to 12. Okay. What we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we would need to multiply that by 4. We would need to multiply that by 3. And we'd need to multiply that by 12. So now I'm basically just going to write that out. So I'm going to have 4 bracket x plus 2 minus 3 bracket 2x minus 4 equals 12 bracket 3. And all of them have a denominator of 12. Okay. Now that I have a common denominator, we are allowed to get rid of it only in fraction equations, not in fraction expressions, okay? If it's a fraction and there's an equal sign, then we can do this. So I have a common denominator and I can get rid of it. So I'm just left with that top line over there. I'm going to give you a little bit of time for those who had maybe made a few mistakes at this point. You can still try and finish it. See if you get a different answer, and then we'll quickly finish off this question. And go on to our next one. So when we have a common denominator in a fraction equation, we're allowed to drop it. It's a rule, because if we had multiplied both sides by 12, it would go away. Well, let's see. Let's do this step by step. So we're going to do distribution here. So we're going to get 4x plus 8 minus 6x plus 12 is equal to 36. Now, looking at this equation, guys, can you tell me, is this linear or is this quadratic? What type of equation is this? Is this linear or is this quadratic? It's linear. Okay, good. The reason we know it's linear is because we only have x's. We don't have any x squareds. When it's linear, we never factorize. When it's linear, we just want x's on one side and we want numbers on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to keep this 4x over here. I'm going to keep this negative 6x over here. And then I'm going to have 36 minus 12 minus 8. So 4x minus 6x gives me negative 2x. And then on the other side, we've got 36 minus 12, which is 24, 24 minus 8, which gives us 16. Okay, so we land up with negative 2x equals 16. We are going to divide both sides by negative 2. Be careful with your signs. A positive and a negative is a negative, and so x is equal to negative 8. Are we happy? Are we sad? Where are we at with this question? Is this a question or were you wanting to answer?
Oh, no, ma'am. I had a question, but now I understand. No.
Oh, excellent. Great. I'm so glad. Medium. You never win with that. You know, at fractions, sometimes they can be a bit nasty, but we've got to get on their good side. Good. Oh, good. I'm so glad. When it's linear, we never factorize. When it's linear, we just put x's on one side, numbers on the other. No brain break. No, Brian. If you'd like to take a screenshot, please feel free. I do have another fraction question, but I just took a look at the time and I would like us to try and get through some of the other things. So I think I'm going to zoom past the next fraction question and go into an exponential equation just so we can get some practice on that as well. Okay. So we're going to jump down to this one over here. Okay, when we have an exponential equation, the thing that our brain needs to think of is we need them to have the same base. Okay, so if I have like 5 squared, that 5 is my base and that 2 is my exponent or my power or my index. Okay. Yes, and the denominators are the same. You can drop them in an equation. So in this case, we are wanting our bases to both be 3. So just keep that in mind. We want them to both have the same base and we want that base to be 3. Give it your best go. Don't overthink it. Fractions and factorizers. And if you're feeling confident, pop that hand up and we can talk through it. Yes.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Okay, so ma'am, the 27 becomes into a 3, right?
Uh-huh.
And then since we have like same bases, we can say 3x, 3 to the power of 2x plus 1 minus x, which gives us x plus 1.
How do we change the first step? How do we change that 27 to have a base of 3?
Oh, divide by 3. Divide by 3. I mean square root, cube root 3.
Okay, so how would I write that? How would I write it to have a base of 3? Because I have to write it still with a base of 3.
Math?
I can't just cube root it. I still have to write it as a base of 3. So like 3 to the power of 2 is equal to 9, for example. So if I wanted to write 9 a different way, I could write 3 to the power of 2.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to carry on talking through this one, but you were definitely on the right track with the cube rooting. Okay, so if I wanted to write 27 a different way, I could write that as 3 to the power of 3, because 3 to the power of 3 is equal to 27. Now, on your calculators, you're going to write 27. Okay, so I've written 27, push equals. So I'm just going to write that over here. 27 equals, this works for any number though. Shift fact. And you will see it gives you 3 to the power of 3. Okay, 27 equals shift fact. All right, when we have a power to a power, we multiply. So we get 3 to the power of 2x plus 1 is equal to 3 to the power of 3x. Now we have done what we had to do. We have the same base. And kind of like when we had a fraction where we dropped the denominator, if our bases are the same, we can drop our bases and we can just focus on our exponents. So we can just focus on those guys. So we can say 2x plus 1 is equal to 3x. And then I'm just going to move this 2x onto this side. So I have 1 is equal to 3x minus 2x, which means x is equal to 1. And that is my final answer. So the key with exponential equations is make sure you have the same base. And you can always check, because like you could put 3 to the power of 3 on your calculator, and if you don't get 27, then you know that there's a mistake. Okay. Screenshot if you would like one. I've got another exponential equation for you. Nice, good job. Now remember, with these questions, you can't just guess. So what lots of people do is they take their calculators and they just put numbers. And they try and make sure that they get the right numbers. They'll try put in 1, and then they'll put in 2, and then they'll put in 3. If you guess, you won't get any of the marks. You have to show these steps of working. Okay. All right. Next one. In this case, we need them to have the same base. Now I've got a fraction. I need this whole thing to have a base of 2. Yeah, if you skip the bracket in that case, Rotile, that's totally fine. Think about this in 2 steps. Think about how I can write 64 with a base of 2. And then think about how I can, because then that would be like this. So this thing that I don't know right now, think about how I can bring it up to the top. So you have to use a lot of your exponent knowledge that you've been doing. Hello. Is this a question or is this an answer?
I think it's an answer.
Okay, okay.
So
Hello? Can the rest of you still hear me? I'm worried that it's my side. Oh, network. Okay. You guys still can hear me. Yeah, Melissa, you can definitely give it a try. Just pop that hand up and then I can unmute you. Okay, I like that. So 1 over 2 to the power of 6. That's a really good start. Okay. So that's a really good start. We know that 64 is 2 to the power of 6. Awesome. Okay. Now we need to think about our exponent rules. If I move that up, what happens to that exponent? If I move that up, what happens to that exponent?
Negative,
It's going to become negative, exactly. So we're going to have 2 to the power of 3x minus 4, and that's going to be equal to 2 to the power of negative 6. And remember, guys, you can always check. So we're going to put in our calculator 2 to the power of negative 6, and I'm going to push equals. And if I didn't get 1 over 64, then I would know that I'm wrong. Okay. And now all the hard work has been done for you. Your bases are the same. And once your bases are the same, you can make your exponents the same. So Mateo, if you are working with exponents in like an expression, and your answer is going to be something that has exponents, then they'll always say in the question, leave your answer with positive exponents. But if we're working in an equation, sometimes we need to make them negative in order to get to our final answer. So my answer to that question is kind of yes and kind of no. All right, so we're going to make those exponents equal to each other. So we're going to say 3x minus 4 is equal to negative 6. We're going to move that negative 4 over. So 3x is equal to negative 6 plus 4, which means 3x is equal to negative 2. We're going to divide both sides by 3. Do you see how these linear equation tools that we've learned since grade 9 just always come back to help us? x is equal to -2/3. Nice work. Okay. I'm going to give you one more exponent question. Okay. So when we're dealing with exponents, if we are moving it from the bottom up to the top, then our exponent becomes negative. So think about this rule. If we have 1 over x, that's equal to x to the -1. So whenever we move it, if I have x to the -1, that's equal to 1 over x. Okay, I'm going to give you, I know that there isn't a huge amount of time left and you've got a quiz tonight. So I'm going to just give you 1 more minute and then I'm going to quickly talk through this question. And then I'm going to let you do your quiz. Yeah, dot means times. Exactly. Yeah, I know not everyone will have finished. I'm just going to start talking about it because of our time. But remember, you can rewatch this video anytime, and you can watch this go through it slowly. Okay. So when we keep that 2 to the power of x, and to change this 8 to be a base of 2, we're going to say that's 2 to the power of 3, x plus 1. And then this is going to become 2 to the power of -5. And we're going to follow the same process we did for that one over there. Okay. Now, when we have this case, we have to distribute that. So it's going to be 2 to the power of x times 2 to the power of 3x plus 3 is equal to 2 to the power of -5. Now, think about it like this. When we have exponents where the bases are the same, we are able to plus them. So this is the same as saying 2 to the power of x plus 3x plus 3 is equal to 2 to the power of -5. So 2 to the power of 4x plus 3 is equal to 2 to the power of -5. And again, then the hard work is done for you. So as soon as our bases are the same, we can make our exponents the same. So 4x plus 3 is equal to -5. 4x is equal to -5 minus 3, which means 4x equals -8. Divide both sides by 4, therefore x equals 2. And we're done. I hope that this has been able to bring back some memories in the equation land. Yes, question? One last question.
Sorry, ma'am. I had a technical error here, but like, I just wanted to ask, like, seeing as you've already done it, I skipped a few steps, but I still got the same answer.
As long as you weren't guessing and you showed you're working, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, it's been a treat having you this week.